welcome to another episode of the I Heal, We Heal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and I'm thankful you're here. So today I'll be sharing my ayahuasca experience that I kind of introduced in the first episode. Before I get into my personal experience and how all that was, I'll be talking a little bit about what ayahuasca is as a medicine, and then I will get into my experience with it. I know that not everybody really understands or knows of this medicine. So ayahuasca, also known as abuelita or madre ayahuasca, due to its very maternal and loving energy that it transmutes, is a hallucinogenic tea or brew made of two components, the ayahuasca vine and chacruna leaves. It's a pretty lengthy process to make this brew. It's typically used in shamanic practices by the indigenous peoples. The vine serves as the inhibitor to the DMT that the chacruna leaves provide. DMT being an entheogen. An entheogen is a psychoactive substance, basically, which allows you to reach altered states of consciousness, or what some people call an awakening. This relationship represents that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, showing you that abuelita or madre ayahuasca makes way for you, serving as the vessel to reach this enlightenment. And so the experience is very, very intense, and it's definitely not for everyone. If you are considering sitting with ayahuasca, I do recommend you to not only research what ayahuasca is, some testimonies, as well as the taita, providing you with the ceremony, because it is an ancestral medicine that must be respected. She will show you it's a very loving way, but it can be very dramatic in the way that she demonstrates and teaches you things. She will teach you exactly what it is that you need to learn. And so, for example, some people have a very visual experience. So they'll see mandalas, sacred geometry, colors, shapes. And for others, it's not. It's more of a connection to source in an infinite number of ways that you can't necessarily put into words or explain. It's more of a feeling. It's as if you could plug yourself into God, or we all are connected to God, right? But it's as if you were a charger and you were getting plugged into the wall. And as soon as that happens, you just get this complete download and understanding of everything. It's a very, very detached understanding of everything. It's like you're sitting there and you completely understand in every cell of your body that you are one with everything. You're interconnected to everything and everyone, and there really is only you. There's only one. And it's a very profound feeling. I'm struggling to find the words to describe the feeling, because it really is more of a feeling. Like if you had the option to sit with, I'm going to say someone, but just an entity that would tell you anything and everything about you that you needed to know at this very moment to help you evolve as a being. That's very, very hard for some people, because it will show you the trauma that you've been avoiding, or that you thought that, just because it happened 10, 15 years ago, whatever, that it doesn't matter, or that it doesn't weigh in on who you are today. And the fact is that it shapes you into who you are right now and how you're responding to your world. And so sitting with ancestral medicines like ayahuasca is doing the work and finally opening your eyes to everything that is holding you back and has shaped you into who you are. And so the medicine knows exactly what it is that you need to see, what it is that you need to understand at this point in time. Some people could describe it as ego death. I'll go into a little bit about my experience now and what that looked like. As I was kind of explaining in the intro episode, was ayahuasca was introduced to me in a Akashic Records session that I did back in December of 2023. He told me that I would be sitting with Abuelita Ayahuasca And sure enough, my experience came to me right around my birthday this year. My experience was with Jaguar Negro Ayahuasca. You are asked to do a week-long prep, basically like clean eating, clean habits, no sugars or stimulants like coffee. We had like a city view down in the front and a direct view of La Peña, which is the monument there in Bernal. And it was pretty much an open setting where the ceremony was held. It is an overnight experience, and you pretty much fast that day. With the week-long prep, you also do some intention work and meditation prep as well. Basically gets you into this emotional and mental space of preparedness to not only fast physically, but you're fasting emotionally and mentally. So aren't consuming much in terms of media at all. The way that Jaguar Negro does it is they do separate tomas. Tomas being like small drinks. It's not necessarily a sip. It's definitely like a few sips, but it's like a little cup every time. And so you get up to 4 doses that night. And so this is where the purge comes in. Some people, they start purging after the first drink. Some people can make it up to the 4th one. And it really all depends on your body and how much your body needs to get to this state of DMT effects. After the 3rd one was when my body needed to purge. And the purge symbolizes basically your body letting go of what no longer is. Symbolically, that's what it is, but physically, you quite literally purge. Your body does it. It's not an uncomfortable thing. It just kind of happens. And so after, you purged and you're sitting there, probably takes about 30 minutes. And then you basically start to lose sense of time as a construct, basically start to enter into the state. Individual identity, as you know it, basically dissolves and you become one with everything around you. And so you don't lose consciousness as to where you're at and who you are. It's not really like that, but it is like you're losing consciousness of individuality. Everybody kind of enters this state at different times. It is at first pretty intense because, you see everybody around you or hear everybody around you and everybody's kind of going through their process. Something that you do when you sit with ancestral medicines is definitely the intention, right? And so for me, my intention that night was to understand the concept of self-love. Self-love was a concept that came to me in one of my quantum healing sessions prior to this that was basically one of the last lessons or hurdles or concepts that I had to understand with the cancer healing. I knew going into ayahuasca that I wanted to intention my session to understand the concept of self-love. And I definitely do want to get more into the concept of self-love, right? And everything that it truly is and not necessarily what is painted today by society. The night of my ceremony, I didn't get a response, knowing or understanding of what self-love is. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess, it wasn't for me to understand at this time. And I left the session the following morning, with that understanding of wasn't my time and that's fine too. About a month after you sit with ayahuasca, you will see physical changes in your reality to continue to teach you things. And so certain relationships and dynamics in my life that I was used to having as pillars throughout this whole cancer healing journey started to shift in my physical reality. And it is only up until recently that I realized that it was ayahuasca creating those changes within my reality. And so what this led me into was a point in my life of even more deep reflection, but also in my most vulnerable state in the process of moving back and everything. So it was just a lot of movement in my physical reality. It was through all of these changes that I entered into a place of complete reconstruction of myself, not only emotionally, but physically. These events were what ultimately taught me the concept of self-love. And so after everybody's like up in the morning, like real early, probably like right after the sun comes up, we have a period of sharing. So everybody kind of shares their experiences about what they live, what ayahuasca, showed them and taught them. And then share fruits and seeds from the altar. I do remember, and it's a very distinct feeling. It's impossible to see life through the same lenses. It's impossible to go back to ways that you've previously identified with. So there's definitely like this integration period because you quite literally are seeing life through different lenses now. And you truly, truly understand the concept that you are the medicine and that healing and peace must come from within because you ultimately are the one that holds all of the keys to raise your consciousness and your connection to anything and everything. It did feel like probably the longest night of my life, even though you're probably under the DMT effects, an average of like 4 hours. For me, it was so intense. And, I just remember crying, and it was like, it wasn't crying out of grief or sadness or anything like that. It was more of like a release and just like this deep feeling and understanding of everything that is. And it's like, if you could feel all emotions at once, that's probably the best way that I can explain this experience and this feeling. And you just feel this like immense gratitude for everything that you've ever been, everything that you are. Yeah, that was my experience. And I guess I will leave you with the concept that you are the medicine and that healing and peace always comes from within.